So, guys, I came across a video or a news actually of a very, very popular pastor. He used to be very, very popular in the UK. In fact, everybody and anyone who knows this pastor known that is a confirmed guy man. Anywhere you hear this pastor's name, is so popular. It mixes with the popular people in the entertainment industry. Is it moves like he dressed nicely, lives in a bigger house, does all the good stuff. But then everybody knows that he's a guy man. Guys, let me know who you think that pastor is. Okay, let's dive into the story. Hello, everybody. Welcome back again to my channel. My name is Wemimo, and I'm also known as Start5 and also known as CMO5 Kanduko. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks so much for always coming back. So, I found this news, and I'm going to leave a screenshot here. And I found it from Daily Mail. So, Daily Mail reported that a deported Ghanaian fraudster can return to the UK after he became depressed, the judge ruled. So when I saw the story, it reminded me of the story of Pastor Toby Adegboyega. We know Pastor Toby Adegboyega in the UK. It's been alleged that he's battling immigration issues, that he's been in this country for a very long time, and he has not yet regularized himself. So when I saw this story of this Ghanaian pastor, it kind of like obviously brought me back to Pastor Toby Adegboyega's case that, you know what, they'll just drag this Pastor Adegboyega back and forth, but then this man is not going to be asked to leave the UK. He's not going to be asked to leave the UK because when I read the reasons why this Ghanaian pastor, though he was deported, this Ghanaian pastor was deported, but he was able to come back. The judge overturned the reasons why the Home Office deported him. So I was like, okay, if this man could come back, Pastor TB, Pastor Toby Adegboyega is not going anywhere. The Home Office, the UK might wala him, court case here and there, but he's not going to go anywhere. And let me read the story of this Ghanaian pastor to you. So, a convicted Ghanaian pastor who was deported from Britain for using fake documentation should be free to return the country. Should be free to return to the country. A tribunal has ruled. So, Samuel Frimpong. I'm sure that name sounds familiar to you guys, right? Samuel Frimpong was jailed for 4 months for using false documentations to try and circumvent, in quote, the leave to remain rules, an immigration judge was told. The father of two was handed a deportation order shortly after his conviction in 2008 and left the country in 2013. He has since been living a, in quote, depressive life in Ghana, away from his family, the hearing was told. This hearing and this case, it was his wife who remained here in the UK that put all of these things together for him. In fact, his wife went through thick and thin. They went from living in a big mansion to living in like a 1 room, 2 bedroom, so that she could cater for her young children after her husband, the pastor, Guyman, was deported. So his 11 and 15-year-old children were born after his initial conviction, and their mother now finds it, in quote, difficult to explain where their father is and feel, in quote, socially isolated as a result of his absence. Mr. Frimpong was granted permission to appeal his deportation at the time, but he then went to ground and was listed as an absconder. Baba just decided to, keep quiet because obviously being a guy man, being a, known pastor, dressing flashy, doing all of these things, he thought if he disappeared off, the radar, the Home Office would leave him alone and then he could come out after some time. But then Baba was too tired. During that time when they expected him to, file an appeal, he did not file an appeal because Baba was like, oh, let me just go underground, which is what the majority of people would do if they find that they're not able to, they don't have an option to regularize their state. They'll just go underground, start doing everything underground. So this was what this man did, even though they were expecting him to appeal. Anything that Home Office, if Home Office give you letter to leave, they will always give you the chance to appeal. If you don't appeal, if they find you, it will make them send you back even much easier. So Mr. Frimpong was granted permission to appeal his deportation at the time, but he then went to ground and was listed as an absconder, in quote. In November 2022, he was told by an immigration officer that his deportation order would not be revoked. The pastor appealed that decision, but a first-tier immigration tribunal rejected his case in February last year. But after appealing to the upper tier of the immigration tribunal, Judge Abid Mahmood has decided to revoke the deportation order, ruling it was an, in quote, unjustifiable interference in his human rights. Meanwhile, this pastor has been in the UK for a very long time, just like Pastor Toby Adegboyega. A very long time. He had a chance to have find a means of regularizing his stay in the UK. But you know, this pastor, they will be living as if, yeah, now maybe I'm a pastor, I'm untouchable. Mm-mm. You remember that UN judge? Mm-hmm. So the story continued. Mr. Frimpong appealed under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. See, if you have an immigration issue, now this is not me giving you a lawyer advice, but if you have an immigration issue and you have children that were born in this UK, in this country, and they've reached this age whereby they'll be able to apply to settle in the UK. See this Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. That is what most people are using to win their case with the Home Office. Allegedly. A bird, say a bird told you. Mm. So, Mr. Frimpong appealed under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, arguing that his right to family and that of his wife and children had been, in quote, interfered with. At the hearing, Mr. Frimpong's wife, who was not named by the tribunal, said the family had been evicted following his deportation. Remember, they were living in a massive, beautiful house. She said the immediate after effects of the deportation included being evicted from their original home and having to move schools. In quote, the children are somewhat socially isolated without their father and find it difficult to understand why their father is not with them, and they find it difficult to explain to others at school and they like where their father is. They, in quote, keep begging their father to come to England and always pray for his safe return to have his attention, support, and affection. Mrs. Frimpong also says she's unable to work full time whilst caring for the children, and so the family cannot afford to travel back to Ghana. She said that he, Mr. Frimpong, was very sorry and remorseful every day for what he had done. The 11 years apart had had a huge impact on the family, the tribunal said. That's why, you know what, if you want to gather, if you once you enter into this country, it's very, very important to come in a legal way so that at least there's a pathway to you getting a final residency in this country. And if you want to do so, please avoid using Oluwole paperwork. Avoid Oluwole paperwork. It was Oluwole paperwork that landed this Mr. Frimpong in deportation, even though he's known as allegedly a guy man. Yeah, because he was convicted. You guys heard it. Even though people know him as a guy man, but the thing that actually gave him wala was because he included Oluwole inside his application to try and get permanent residency in the UK. That was his problem. That was the issue he had. Okay, so she had not been able to visit Ghana and nor had her children because despite living in difficult accommodation in the UK, there is little in the way of funds available to undertake any international travel. Arguing against, the government representative said that Mr. Frimpong's use of false documentation in quote fundamentally undermines immigration control. Revoking the deportation order, upper tribunal judge Mahmood admitted that his dishonesty had been serious. You guys see, dishonesty, Oluwole paperwork, but said the family were living in quote depressive lives and it would be insurmountable for the children to move to Ghana. Their ages 11 and 50, so no immigration will move them anywhere. He said, it is clear to me that these children having to live their lives in the UK, their schools and their friends to live in a one-room home in poor conditions in Ghana are insurmountable obstacles. Their church members, their church means much to them and they are important part of it. Modern means of communication have been tried in this case and have failed, as shown by the depressive lives being lived by the children and their mother here in the UK. Additionally, in light of the depressive life being lived by Mr. Frimpong himself in Ghana. In quote, ultimately, in this case, the probation report made clear that there is no risk of harm to others. The offense was in 2008. That is over 16 years ago. There has been no recorded offending against Mr. Frimpong since then. He works as a pastor. He has apologized profusely for his offending behavior. He had sought to make amends by practicing and assisting others in his religion. In quote, I conclude that despite the very heavy weight to be afforded to the public interest and the presumption of deportation, in the particular circumstances of this case, the refusal to revoke the deportation order made against Mr. Frimpong amounts to an unjustifiable interference with the Article 8 right of him. It is that Article 8 right that made the judge revoke the deportation order that the Home Office gave him, though he was back in Ghana, but the judge revoked it, which means that he could come back into the UK. his partner and his 2 children. Now, Mr. Frimpong can now apply for entry clearance to come back into the UK. So, guys, like I said, when I saw this story, it just goes on to show that the likes of Pastor Toby Adegboyega is also probably going to be using this Article 8 to try and fight his stay here. So you could claim that he is married to a Britico and his 2 children. I think Pastor Toby also has 2 children in the UK. He's also going to fight to say that his children are here in the UK. They've never been in Nigeria before. In a way, obviously, Pastor Toby is still living a flashy lifestyle. Recently he was showcasing his car. I don't know what car he bought there. And so he's still living his flashy lifestyle. So in this pastor's case now, Mr. Frimpong, he went back home. His wife was able to show evidence of the kind of depressive life he was living in Ghana, which would not be suitable for his wife and children to go back to join him. Hence why the judge revoked the immigration order to say he's been given clearance to be able to come back into the UK. But in the likes of Pastor Toby, who is still living flashy lives, flashy life, I don't know how that will work, but guys, leave your thought and opinion in the comment section. And have you subscribed to my channel yet? Have you subscribed? Anyway, I believe this story of Mr. Frimpong is a lesson for us to learn. Just like I said earlier on in there, I am Team Jackpa. If you want to Jackpa to the diaspora, please comment through the legal and right channel. Coming through the right pathway so that at least whatever pathway you come through, not the visiting, okay? Because visiting, you can only visit and it's not going to allow you to stay in the UK. It's not going to allow you to be able to get a job in the UK. So maybe visiting to just come and have a feel, to come and test the waters, and then you can go back and decide on the type of visa pathway you want to use to come to the diaspora. Some are using the student route, some are using the high skilled route. So the lesson for us is that no matter what you're doing in this life, either as at work or with the home office, ensure your documentations are original. Do not engage in using fake documentations to apply for anything. Because in this guy's story now, it was the fake documentation he used in order to try and get settlement for himself that landed him in trouble. Avoid Oluwole, please. Avoid Oluwole. If you're on the right pathway of the type of visa that you come into the UK with, you just follow that pathway through till you get your permanent residency, okay? If you're on a visiting visa and you come into the UK, there's no pathway for that. The only pathway for that is you come here and you go back. And if you're coming through maybe high skilled visa, high skilled work, student visa, or whatever, that's a steady pathway. You might need to renew a few times, and then at the starting stage, you're going to get your permanent residency, and that way you're able to settle. So, guys, let me know what you've learned in this story. Do you think Pastor Toby Adegboyega might still be able to win this case just like Mr. Frimpong did? And do you think the judge was right to overturn the deportation of the Home Office, even though they said that was the offense he committed was 16 years ago? He's remorseful. His family said he's been able to, he's been apologized and he's been helping people. Do you think the judge was right to, to allow him to come back to the UK? Guys, leave your thoughts and opinion in the comment section. If you've watched the video till now and you've not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Don't forget to like, drop a comment in the comment section, subscribe if you've not yet done so, turn on your post notifications, share this video. Do not hesitate to join my membership, and I hope to catch up with you in my next video. All right, bye for now. Bye.
In my veins, I've been driving this train, years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame, cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearrange